They had talked about Abidemi Shawande, the tiger, and the group that he worked for.
Alex, he is one of the most dangerous mercenaries in the world.
I sped up and weaved through the traffic as best I could. But when I checked the mirror again, the police cars were still close. I was a little numb from hearing what Adan knew about the tiger and so much more. I still couldn't believe that she and Ellie had met. Suddenly, Adan grabbed my arm.
Alex,
she shouted.
There!
A police car had hopped the curb from a vacant lot on the left and was pulling across our path right now. I jammed down on the brakes. Too late. The escort skidded and caught the cruiser broadside. Our front end folded right in on itself as if it were made of molding clay. No wonder Ford was losing market share. My chest hit the steering column hard, and I saw Adan's head smack the windshield. Already the other police cruiser was right behind us, sirens screeching, spinners going like crazy. Adan? I sat her up and saw that her forehead was swabbed in red. She raised her eyebrows and blinked several times. You all right? I asked.
I think so. Don't tell him anything, Alex. More people will die. Don't tell him a thing, I told you. Do you promise? Alex?
Chapter 108. Blue-uniformed cops were running up on either side of our car. When they threw open the doors and grabbed at us, Adan came out easily. I was a lot more work for them. When I was finally pulled from the front seat, I came up swinging, crunching a straight right fist into somebody's chin. It felt good. Then two of them flung me down hard onto the pavement. That didn't feel so good. Something popped in my shoulder. Jesus! My arm flew up reflexively, and a wave of pain crashed over me, even as I felt the joint slip back into place. I wasn't sure if I could move the arm again, though. How could I fight them now? The police were yelling on all sides, at least 4 of them, screaming in a mishmash of languages I couldn't understand. Then one of them fired his service revolver into the air to make his point crystal clear. Adan was shouting too.
I'm with the Guardian! I am a reporter! Press!
I could see under the car to where she was lying face down on the other side. There were pairs of black shoes moving all around her. Then a pistol was pointed at her head. But that didn't stop her from yelling at them.
Adan Tansi! I'm with the Guardian!
She shouted it over and over, not just for them, but for anyone who could hear in the neighborhood. We had already stopped traffic on both sides of the street. With any luck, Adan had just gone from anonymous suspect to known entity. It was a good move, especially given her state of mind after what had happened at her parents' house. I saw 2 of the cops who were standing over me exchange a look. One reached down to pull my hands back and cuff me. When he did, my shoulder felt like it was being torn in half. Then I was punched and kicked in the small of the back. Everything was getting hazy and surreal again in a hurry. I couldn't let myself black out.
Alex!
Adan's voice came again.
Alex! I'm over here! Alex!
I turned my head to look for her. The heel of a shoe came down on my cheek and temple. But I saw her anyway. The police were dragging her away, past a standard cruiser, to an unmarked black sedan. Going where?
She's with the Guardian! I yelled at the top of my voice. She's with the Guardian! She's press!
Adan kicked and twisted, and I tried to roll the 2 cops off my back. But it was too little, too late. Adan was still shouting when they stuffed her into the black sedan, slammed the door, and drove off in a hurry. Chapter 109. A fevered voice inside my head was screaming for me to help Adan, but I knew I should think things through before I tried anything. I had no idea and no way to find out if the car they had put me in was following Adan's. I was in a police unit, though, small and cramped by DC standards, smelling strongly of tobacco and sweat and somebody's urine. Were these men policemen? I sat sideways on a ripped vinyl seat in back. My hands were cuffed, and a rusted metal security grate was a few inches from my face. My shoulder throbbed, and I was afraid it was broken. But that was the least of my worries right now. What I cared about most was Adan and what was happening to her. "Where did they take her?" I asked. The 2 uniforms in front wouldn't even turn to look at me. I couldn't provoke them. "Talk to me! Tell me where we're going!" I demanded to know. Then I saw for myself, and it couldn't have been any worse. The first thing I recognized was the signpost at the turnoff for Kiri Kiri, then the familiar concrete walls and razor wire crisscrossing the top. Oh, hell no! I felt like I'd fallen into some kind of hell on earth. Going in here the first time had been bad enough, but heading back where I knew what to expect? It took the 2 cops and 2 more prison guards to get me out of the car and inside the jail. I thought they would drag me up to the wards, but we went down instead. Down couldn't be good. Where was Adon? Was she here too? My feet bumped over stone steps, then onto the compacted dirt floor of a barely lit corridor. It looked and smelled like the cell block upstairs, but when we passed through one of the reinforced steel doors, I saw they all opened onto the same enormous space. There was a low ceiling that dripped some kind of sludge, and a row of retrofitted support columns ran right down the middle of the room. They extended into deep shadows on either side. A blank space. For torture? Interrogation? Execution? Everything was left to the imagination. On purpose, I was sure. The police and guards left me there with my hands cuffed tightly behind my back, secured around one of the posts. The column was rusted steel about 4 inches thick and going nowhere, just like me. I stopped struggling as soon as they walked away. Better to save my strength, I figured. I didn't know who wanted me here. The tiger? The police? The government? Someone else? A multinational corporation, for God's sake? Maybe that was it. Anything was possible here. If I was extraordinarily lucky, Flaherty would come looking for me again. And if I was even luckier, he'd be able to find me down here. But that could take days, and then more time to find Adon. If she was still alive. If they hadn't gotten the secrets out of her. If. Chapter 110. A light came on. 2 lights, actually. Quickly, one after the other. I didn't know how many hours had passed, or what time of day it was. I knew that I hadn't slept. The man I now thought of as the police commander, the one I'd hit with Adon's car, stood by one of the doors. His hand was still on the wall switch. 2 single-bulb fixtures shone brightly overhead. They weren't meant to be easy on the eyes, or the brain, or the soul.
"Tell me what you know about the tiger,"
he said as he strode forward. I noticed he'd changed suits, and that there was a rectangle of gauze taped to his forehead. "Where's Adon Tansey?" I said.
"Don't make me cross.
The commander chuckled softly. He'd been a jackass joker the last time, too, I remembered. The accent was Yoruba, and the voice was calm. Too calm. He had more self-control than I would have thought he should, given that I'd tried to run him over and put tire marks on his ugly face. "Just tell me if she's alive," I said. "That's all I need to hear from you."
"She's alive. Somewhat."
He spread his hands.
"Now, the killer you chased here, what do you know? Are you CIA? Or are you working with her, the reporter?"
At least he wanted something from me. Quid pro quo was better than nothing, I guess. "There are lots of tigers, killers for hire," I said. "You know that. The one I'm after is physically large. He operates internationally, with teams in Lagos and Washington at the very least. I believe his name is Shawande. As of 2 days ago, he was in South Darfur. I don't know where the hell he is now." I paused and stared into his eyes. "I'm not CIA. Definitely not CIA. Tell me where she is." His shoulders barely shrugged.
"She's here, at Kiri Kiri. No need to worry about her. She's close by. Ah, look at that! There she is now. The news reporter is here."
Chapter 111. A police officer I didn't recognize was pushing Adan into the room. She shuffled ahead of him, with a wad of tape stuffed over her mouth. Blood streaked both her cheeks. Her braids had been cut short. They stuck out at angles from her head. One of her eyes was swollen shut and colored blue-black. She saw me and nodded that she was okay. I didn't believe it for a second.
Now maybe there's more that you can tell me,
the commander said.
Something I don't already know about the tiger. Why did you come here? Not to solve a murder case. Why would I believe that? How do you know Adan Tansi?
I began to shout at him. What the hell is the matter with you? I'm a cop, just like you. I'm investigating a murder case. It's that simple. The cuffs tore at my wrists. Then the pain in my shoulder turned to nausea. I thought I was going to throw up. The commander nodded once at the cop who'd brought in Adan. The underling threw a hard uppercut into her stomach. I felt the cruel blow in my own body. Adan groaned behind the tape and fell to her knees. The dirt on her face was streaked with tears, but she wasn't crying now. She was watching me. Blood from her mouth was turning the tape red. Her eyes were pleading. But for what? Why are you doing this? I spit between clenched teeth. I could imagine my hands around his throat. My friend was killed in Washington. That's why I'm here. That's all there is. I'm not part of some conspiracy.
Take the tape off her mouth,
the commander ordered. The guard ripped it away, and Adan said, Alex, don't worry about me. The commander turned to the cop.
Again. Hit her.
He turned back to me.
Alex, worry about her.
Okay. I cut him off. The tiger's name is Abidemi Shawande. He disappeared in 1981, when he was 9 years old, turned up in England at a university for 2 years, and hasn't used that identity since. He's murdered a lot of people, here and in America. He uses wild boys. He may control other tigers, that's all I know. That's everything I have. You know about the diamonds, the gasoline, the illegal trading. The commander kept his hand in the air to hold off the next punch.
You sure that's it?
I'm sure, goddammit! I'm just a cop from Washington, D.C. Adan has nothing to do with this. He squinted, thinking about it, and then seemed satisfied. His hand came down slowly.
I should kill you anyway, but that's not my choice.
Then I heard another voice in the room.
No, that would be my choice, Detective Cross.
Chapter 112. A man stepped out of the shadows, a large man. The mercenary soldier known as the Tiger, the one I'd been chasing.
No one seems to know much about me. That's good, don't you think? I want to keep it that way. She writes stories in newspapers, the London Times, maybe the New York Times. You get in the way a lot.
He walked over to me.
Unbelievable. Some people fear you, eh? Not me. I find you to be a funny man. Big joke. The joke is on you, Detective Cross.
My body eased just a fraction. He didn't seem angry, and he wasn't concerned about me, but he was huge and muscle-bound, as fierce as any man I'd ever seen. Then, with his eyes still on me, he said,
Shoot her. Wait. No. Give me a gun.
No! I yelled. That's all I got out. Adan's good eye flew open, and she found me in this unbelievable nightmare we were sharing. The tiger took a quick step forward.
Pretty girl. Stupid bitch. Dead woman. You did this to her, Cross. You did this. Not me.
Blam! Blam! Chapter 113. He had fired a police service revolver close to her head, twice. He missed on purpose, and he laughed merrily at the prank.
People find it difficult to believe that a black man can be clever and intelligent. Have you found that to be true, Dr. Cross? How about you, Adan?
She didn't answer, but she spit at him. Murderer!